Hi Aries, welcome to your New Year's Tarot spread for 2019. It's Raina, and the website I got this from is called mywanderingfool.com. I thought it would be kind of fun to do a spread for the new year, but for 2019, but not like some extensive spread. Just something that kind of gives a flavor. And I will explain the positions as I go along after I've laid out the cards. Been getting that card a lot. Pretty funny. Okay, I'm just going to gather up these other cards so I can set them aside. I live by the train, so now that it's rush hour in the morning, even like early in the morning, I'm trying to do these readings when there's not so much noise, and sometimes you got to deal with that too. Okay. So the main theme of 2019 for you is the Ten of Wands. Now, if you don't know what each card represents, just look at the visual. What does that look like to you? There's somebody who's kind of hunched over and carrying this obviously big load. The number 10 is culmination. It's the end of a cycle, but it's also culmination, like things coming to fruition, I would say, but definitely the apex, the height of something. And with wands, we're talking about fire energy, as you are, but the fire element in the tarot connects with creativity, with enthusiasm, and with entrepreneurship or career in general. Also passion in relationships. So having said that, this is a card of somebody who has a lot on their plate. And this may not just be with career matters, but the career is especially emphasized in this particular case. Also, if you have a relationship with a fire sign, I'm thinking it's Leo because the Strength card is right above it, but who knows? The Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. But the point is that the person is, trying to do so much, okay? And they're carrying quite a burden. But it could still be that you are very successful at the same time. So it's not like something that is bad even, but it's just showing how much you're doing. Maybe you're working overtime. Who knows? Which can be a good thing depending on what's going on with you. So let's look at the second card, which is departing energies from last year. Now, the King of Pentacles goes kind of like connects with this because it could be a lot of financial success, maybe you owning your own business, and therefore that is creating that kind of strain because of the hours. Maybe you have two jobs, and one of them is your own business, and one is another job that you have where you're trying to make that transition. And again, the King of Pentacles is a wonderful card for financial abundance and business success and things like that. But in the context of that central card, it may be that you have to really be aware of this so that you don't allow yourself to get burned out, and then you can't do anything. So it's like sometimes I know there are people who are workaholics and they said, if I cut down my hours, then I won't get everything done. And I would say, but if you burn out, you literally won't get anything done. If you cut down your hours, you might not get everything done, but at least you'll have balance in your life. And that's extremely important, to have balance. You have to constantly replenish yourself or you deplete yourself, right? So the talents you'll be expressing this year are connected to the Strength card. So these talents may not even be what we would associate outwardly with career. This may be an internal thing where you just have to white knuckle it, or maybe you, not white, I don't think white knuckle is a good term. There's another term with knuckle down, I don't know. But that kind of, with that Strength card, it suggests to me that maybe this is just temporary, that you have to work like crazy, and if you can just get through it, you'll be fine. With the Strength card, it can also be with your immune system, so it could even be physical strength. So perhaps you're going to have good health, or maybe, even though this is not an advice position, maybe it's just kind of a reminder of, like, in order to be your best, you have to do this. Because the Strength card, in terms of, unless you're working a job where you're, competing in bodybuilding competitions or something, the Strength card, I would not take that literally as one of your talents that you will be showcasing. But it might just be grace under pressure or something like that. And Aries is a sign that I associate with being inexhaustible sometimes. So that might be where they're going with this. That you're going to show people, like, how capable you are of just, working like crazy and still maintaining your health and still being able to accomplish your goals. Future opportunities. We have a card that is not a card we associate with opportunities. We have a card that's associated with what I would say negative self-talk. And so what this suggests to me is that you need to understand that you have those opportunities. Maybe there is something within you that feels compelled to make a lot of money, and that's why you're working so long, but your motivation is fear-based, perhaps. That does not strike me as the usual Aries person. I think Aries people tend to be very positive thinking, and they're not awfulizing their lives. They're not saying, oh my gosh, what if this happens, what if that happens? Living a very spontaneous life that believes that they can attract good, but maybe there's something within yourself that has nothing to do with business, career. Maybe it has to do with your private life, and that is going to keep you from achieving your goals, because you might get involved in some kind of a drama with another person. Swords can be conflict, okay? And I did get another card with swords. So especially if this is like an air sign individual, your opposite sign is Libra. The other air signs are Gemini and Aquarius. And of course, this doesn't have to be their sun sign. They may just have this part of themselves. And if they're the one that is kind of messing with your head, they would be masters at that, master gaslighters. I've been talking about gaslighting lately because I think it's more common than we even imagined. And because of it, it gets you to question your sanity sometimes. And so if you are having like a lot of good career success, this can be the one area that really kind of grinds it to a halt. So be careful, and also be careful of what you tell yourself, and whether or not this is coming from somebody else's mental abuse, or if you're just doing it to yourself anyway, if this is just something that you tend to do. What do you say to yourself, Aries? Because the Eight of Swords is a card of oppression coming from oneself. So the person is tied up. It's interesting. Not only are they tied up, but they're blindfolded, and that means to me that symbolizes denial, that they're not looking at themselves, you know, and that's important. That we always engage in self-inquiry. Whenever you feel triggered by someone else's words, being able to sit and say, what is causing me to feel this way, instead of lashing out. That is so typical with people, that they just lash out because they feel the need to defend something. But when you sit with something, what is it that's really at the heart of this? You know, what, you know, am I believing what they're saying? You know, does it remind me of somebody else saying something to me? What does this say about them? But not getting into some kind of outer drama about it. Okay, so the next position is upcoming obstacles. Okay, now to me, the 8 and 9 of Swords go together like, I was going to say white on rice, but I just had brown rice, so there goes that theory. The 8 and 9 of Swords to me are almost, sometimes they seem kind of redundant, because the 9 of Swords is about anxiety. But to me, the 8 of Swords is as well, although there are like subtle differences. The 9 of Swords can be what you think, you know, in the middle of the night. You know, it's a card associated with insomnia, for instance. And insomnia can be, although it doesn't have to be, a situation where the person is finally having to confront all the things that they were running away from all day. During the day, you have the luxury of distracting yourself a lot easier because everyone else is busy and doing their thing, and so that's the time when people are typically busy. But then when it's at night, everything becomes quiet, or relatively quiet, and becomes more toned down. There's not a lot of action, and you have to face yourself at night a lot of times. So that's what the 9 of Swords is, and those swords can be those thoughts, racing thoughts. The 8 of Swords is more on the overt level of, you know, things that you just say to yourself all day, every day. The 9 of Swords may be the things that come out that you've repressed, you know. And the thing is that, and you know, like even like panic attacks and just anxiety, you know, anxiety covers the gamut of all that. And I remember when I was younger and I suffered from panic attacks, and if you've ever suffered from a panic attack, you know how terrifying it is. You feel like you're going to die. And I remember one day, this was a great day because I happened to be in a bookstore when they actually had bookstores. And this was probably almost 20 years ago, I'm thinking. And I just opened this book that was, I don't know if it was a spiritual book. I think it was more of like a psychological book. And I opened it up, like a book on psychology, maybe about anxiety. And I opened it up and they said that panic attacks come when you're like afraid of whatever it is that you're thinking. In other words, the adrenaline, that's what that is, that makes you feel like, oh my God, you know, the fight or flight response. It happens because you're actually afraid of that thought. When you stop being afraid of your thoughts, the anxiety stops. Now, when I'm saying this now, that's not really what it said. I'm trying to remember exactly what it said, but basically, the idea is that the adrenaline starts when we start buying into a thought, and our emotions go there. When you can look at your thoughts and not fear them, and your body will not take over and produce those symptoms that, you know, the racing heartbeat and all those things, which I'm sure that has to do with the adrenaline. And it really helped me because it's like I realized that it was, and it's kind of like almost like Buddhism in a way, but from the medical point of view or the scientific point of view, where it's like your thoughts are something to not react to. And I was thinking in terms of feelings, that I was feeling the anxiety, but the anxiety was coming after the thoughts. And once I didn't give attention to the thoughts or any kind of energy to the thoughts, they existed on their own and then they died. Okay, and the anxiety never was triggered because I didn't take it all the way. So, you know, obviously I think that's why meditation is so helpful in these instances. And so obviously this is a general reading, and obviously everyone experiences anxiety. Everyone. Some people handle it better than others. At some points in our lives, we handle it better than others. Sometimes there are a lot of things going on. Obviously, all Aries people are not going through the same things. For Aries, I think it's very important not to act on thoughts too, because you're so action-oriented, where you just create, I think with the Eight of Swords, you create more self-imprisonment through rash actions and just not being passive when you need to be. Being active all the time doesn't work. You do have to have balance. How to deal with upcoming obstacles. This is another challenging card if you are looking at it in that context. In this context, the Five of Pentacles connects to Mercury in Taurus, which is, Taurus is a fixed sign that is materialistic. I mean, it's an earth sign, so it's the first earth sign, so it's very much into that love affair with the three-dimensional world and all of the bright, shiny objects in that world. And so what I would say is that this is about not immersing yourself in the physical, but not rejecting the spiritual, understanding that the spiritual has its place. I didn't say religious, I said spiritual. Religion is a set of dogma pertaining to a particular sect, a particular faith. Spirituality can be individual to you, to what you feel is your philosophy, what your belief is in the nature of existence and the afterlife and all of that stuff. That's your feeling, and all you can be is who you are in this moment. And that philosophy can change too. It's not going to be set in stone. But I think that could possibly be what's going on as well, is that some Aries people need to focus more on the spiritual than on the material. And in 2019, you're going to get that opportunity because Jupiter is going to be in its own sign in its own house, the ninth house, which is the God house. So you may have like wonderful teachers that you come across that can improve your life. If you are experiencing anxiety or lack of self-love, if you're saying things to yourself that are unkind, this can be an avenue for rediscovering who you really are and therefore what your true worth is. A lot of times people berate themselves because they're not measuring up to what society is telling them they should be. And they're looking in the wrong place. So I like this card. I always associate it with Aries, but anyway, the Fool card is how to achieve your goals and dreams. This is like pressing the reset button of your life. Pressing the reset button, being able to drop the past, and that includes dropping your story, the things that have happened to you, what other people have done to you, and set off on a new adventure. And I think that Aries people are perfectly capable of doing this. And I hope that some of you, or all of you, can take some kind of inspiration from this reading. It's interesting to me because there is the fire element running through here. And the fire element is all about, I think, having joy in life. You know, some of these cards are about thieves of joy. When you have anxiety, that steals joy from you. So if this is from another person, don't allow anybody to try to steal your joy. Maybe you're doing great with your career, but you have a personal relationship where you need to have the courage to leave this relationship because this person is not treating you as you deserve to be treated. Well, the Fool card would also speak to that. Okay, Aries, if you'd like a private reading, please click on the link below. Have a great 2019. Take care. Bye.